Flightboss, bitch. No, might have just start giving this game, because it's real deep shit, man, and I don't really think the world understand me. You know what I'm saying? I think the world understand what I do and why I do it. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we'll talk about air. Air. You know, after this video, you'll probably understand why I'm specifically talking about air right now, but people don't understand how powerful air is. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, everything I do or say got more than like 90 different meanings to it. You could take it 90 different ways. So it shouldn't come across no human brain the same. But it all should point to the same thing, but it should be all looked at that same thing in different ways. You know what I'm saying? That's how broad and how wide my horizons is. You know what I'm saying? That it don't matter what race, what culture, anything you from. You could pinpoint certain stigmas and certain analogies out of my shit to connect it to anything you want to connect it to. You know what I'm saying? Because all my shit is so many different ways you can look at it. You know what I'm saying? I want to talk about air though, because specifically my mixtape I'm about to drop, it's a classic, and it's called Air. And a lot of people might be like, yeah, he's Dolo the Pilot Man, we know why he called it Air. You know what? You're absolutely right. That's one way to look at it. But see, the way my mind work is, that's not the only way to look at it. And I really don't like to give out all codes. But over the years, I start seeing that the consciousness we in now, you have to be upfront with people. You can't beat around the bush on anything and expect people to understand it. Because even if they do understand it, they only can understand it from a certain point of view that you put out there that they can resonate with. But we get into a time where, for niggas like me, you have to understand the way I have to explain to you the way I put it in order for people to understand the real access, and not just as far as they get access in their brain, but access new levels of where I'm trying to take people. And everybody is not going to get that listening on their own. I have to actually express myself better for people to get the sense of the energy through my music, because the energy is there, but people is only going to, if people only listening to music and not understanding the point of view from the person perspective, they're just trying to understand it the best way they know how, then depending on the person's conscious level is dependent on how high they can go. But they can never truly be at the place where you set it at anyway. And then a lot of people could be at a higher place than the actual musician. And people like that give like whack artists and shit like that more credit than they really deserve. Like, symptoms of a person who has a higher consciousness, who don't make music, who just listen to music, and they listen to an artist, it might be something they connect with, because the artist might not know they're actually doing it. It might come natural, but the person who gives them the credit, the symptoms of a person with a higher consciousness level, or the person they listen to, is the person might like the person, but then might defend little stupid shit. Like, the artist might be whack as fuck, but you can't see why this person liked that person, but the person can't understand why you don't like the person, so they make up all this kind of analogies and shit of why the person did that. And 9 times out of 10, the analogy that person came up with, why the person's song they listened to made that song, 9 times out of 10, the reason they came up with that is not the reason why they made the song in the studio. It's like when Tyler the Creator came out. Everybody was like, man, he ate the roach because of this, that, and the third. He actually got an interview saying, I didn't think about none of those things when I did it. So he attracted a lot of shit unknowingly, subconsciously, you know what I'm saying? But it's just the frequencies he was dealing with. And a lot of times that shit got to do with the environment you live in. Like if you don't live in an environment that ain't got a high vibrational frequency of what you trying to do, it's going to be a little harder for you to make it. But if you raise your frequency of what you try to do so high and it's so above the environment, then the universe will work in a way where it'll utilize your environment and move you to the environment that you need to be at in order to do what your frequency vibration is match. In order to match it, you know what I'm saying? So, like, wherever you at, it doesn't matter. Like, if you ever hear anybody complaining about, man, I can't do this, I can't do that because I'm here and because I'm that, man, don't even listen to them motherfuckers because they ain't gonna do nothing but bring your shit down. You try to stay up here. You don't want to come down here. You try to stay up here. You know what I'm saying? So, and if you got anybody that's down here, they only gonna come around you because they try to reach up here. But if every time they come around you, if the effect of them trying to reach up here is bringing you down here for they can catch up, then you still need to cut them niggas loose. I don't care if you see something in them or not, because you only need to deal. You only gonna attract people with if you stay up here. You only gonna attract people who's up here or people who's trying to get up here. If you a nigga that's down here all the time, you only gonna attract niggas that's down here. And if you might come across, it's only sometimes, very rare, you'll come across somebody who's up here who's trying to hang around you to come down here, but it might be something going on in their life that they have to learn that is just their path is taken. That it might be something up here that they have to see down here, and subconsciously their soul might be attracted to that at the moment just to learn something. But you're not gonna be around that person so long, so don't even worry about it, because you stand down here, you can't keep anybody down here. That's one thing I know. You can't keep nobody down here, especially people who's up here or somebody who's got to learn something down here. They still gonna always go back up there. So, and if you a nigga who's always up here, but you don't know how to differentiate, you don't know how to separate yourself from people who down here. Because I'm not saying you can cut ties with people, but just because you a person up here don't mean you have to cut off the person down here. You could try to help that person raise up here. I'm just saying, if the points you're trying to help at, make you feel like you have to come down, then it's an unhealthy cause, and it's gonna cause an unhealthy effect. So if you up here, you might do this a little bit, teeter-totter a little bit, but if that person don't show no kind of growth and you start to see yourself have to come down here, like put yourself in their situations and shit like that just to show them the light, it's not worth your time. Once they get to that point, slowly let them go. But if you see them and you up here, you just do this a little bit, and you see them that they trying to jump, but they come back down trying to jump, then I say you go out your way. You know what I'm saying? Because the effect is going to be greater other than a loss. And all this ties in the air. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people want to know how does... Yeah, I smoke shows. I smoke good times. I'm now about to convert to shows, though, when I smoke loud, because I don't want to smoke too much in my loud, though, because, you know, they say don't get high on supply, but I don't give a fuck who you is, what you is, or how you think, or who you think you listen to, or who your OGs is, nigga. I don't give a fuck who you is. You go get any kind of weed from anybody, you better smoke a blunt of your own to see what kind of weed that is, nigga. Because you never know if you got to take that shit back and go get somebody else shit. You never know. And then you never know, you might need it to get high that day anyway. You know what I'm saying? I encourage everybody to get high. Even if you don't smoke. I'm talking about weed only. Even if you don't smoke weed, at least try it once. It's not like if you try to get a job and you don't never smoke weed or nothing like that. It's not gonna be in your system. Smoking it once or twice that one time that week, once or twice that week, and then quit again. Like, it's not gonna be in your system. If you're a person who never smoked, I encourage you to try it at least once or twice a month. And it's gonna work even wonders for you. See, I've been smoking so long that my mind, my brain built up certain blocks that blocked me from going to the place I was originally going to when I first started smoking. It's like, same way how you get cold or you get the chicken pox, and then once you get it a few times, your body get immune to it and you don't get it no more. That's like the first couple of times of smoking. And if you did smoke, you know what I'm talking about. That ain't nothing like that first couple of times. Ain't nothing like it. So if you're gonna do it all the time, you have to really become a spiritual person to unlock this. Like, I always can get to the place I got to when I first smoked it. But see, your brain could be your best friend and your worst enemy, and it's important not to use your brain for jobs it wasn't made for. Like your brain, and that's another video. I ain't gonna get into that right now, but just know that your brain is part physical and part spiritual. So the physical aspect is connecting your spiritual realm to the physical realm, and the physical part of it is connecting the physical realm to the spiritual realm. So part of you can be at odds with your physical self, and that's a whole nother video. I'm gonna get in that video, but a lot of people is at war within themselves. Same way how the earth be at war within itself, inside a person's body, people be at war within themselves. And your emotions and everything, that conflict, is the same way that happens when you observe it outside of your eyes. But it's a whole nother video. But it all ties in the air, because all this is information. The same way fish is in the water, and when you take them out of that water, they can't breathe in the air. It's the same way humans is in air, and when you take them out of space, they can't breathe without air. The same way the best fish scientists or shark, whatever civilization they see themselves as, in their world, in their consciousness, in their lifetime, they don't understand quite what air is yet. They just know that you got certain fish that build certain astronaut suits, and they travel outside of the water and come back in. They're just like us, just in the water, and how they see things. Now, there's beings that see us and snatch us out of Earth sometimes, where we can't breathe, out of space. But we developed astronaut gear and stuff like that to step out of space. But we can't breathe out of space. So, if you're a human, don't ever think you're above fish just because you're bigger. We're just in different lifetimes, different consciousness, different time spans. That's it. But fish actually live on a higher frequency and a higher dimension than humans. Actually, the reason why we so big is because we created a bigger jail for ourselves. But our brain is our worst enemy. But all this ties in the air, because air gives you the information you need. It carries all the senses in air. The touch sense follows through air. The hear, the see, the smell, all 5 senses, man. But as a being, you only have 1 sense. But as a human, remember, when scientists talk about human beings, you a human being. Atoms and made up shit. But you're also a being. Humans and beings are 2 different things. You, to me, to some sort, is a human being. So we're combined. We're 2 of it. We're 2 things. A human and a being. We're human beings. You know what I'm saying? But in the midst of being human, you have to understand the difference. And some people just get so materialistic and so human because we're on Earth. But, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times, it's not our fault. It's carried through the air. It's not our fault. Like, a lot of times, it's because we live on Earth. Like, people don't understand we lived on all the planets. We just living on Earth now. So, of course, our mind states is going to be based on materialism and shit. Because that's where we're living at now. We're living on Earth. So it's only right that Earth signs actually run Earth. Actually, Taurus, Virgos, and Capricorns run Earth. These are your managers. These are your people who handle the money. These are most of the people in the Illuminati. These are most of the people who's running the banking, running television, education, entertainment, everything. It's Earth signs. We live on Earth right now. People have to understand that. This ain't no shit like, oh, we have to escape. People are too materialism. No, we live on Earth. There's going to be more materialism beings here. People who's going to be utilizing the materialism energy, because that's what built this realm we in now. We're not in the lifetimes of the air signs no more. Right now, Earth is finna go into the air cycle, but we're still on Earth. Everything is a bigger clock. To a bigger clock, 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 to a bigger clock. So just look at it like this little clock right here. It's 12:06. You know what I'm saying? It goes around. And the reason why it's so small that it's going to move, say that it's a clock on top of it with the same numbers. Say they start at still 12 right there. The clock in the middle, it's 12. It's going to be only at 1 second of that one in the bigger clock. So when the little clock move, it's moving within the big clock faster because it's smaller. Then the big clock move is gonna move. They moving at the same pace, but the bigger clock is like, since it's bigger, it takes longer for the numbers to reach where it's going at an angle. So the one in the middle, the 12 at the top might be way over here at the 3 by the time the 12 right here get to the 3 of the bigger clock. That's bigger than that. Like when the little clock be in the 12 might reach the 3 into the bigger clock than that, then the bigger clock 12 might only be in the 1 of the bigger clock at that. Then it's a bigger clock, 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 and it's a small scale, lower scale. Smaller size of the pyramid, the top of the pyramid. It's the same shit. It's like science. And that's why people need air. You know? Everything I said, I want you to build on that. And you can take it 10 different ways. And the people who is going to be a hard time relating everything I'm saying to air, then they didn't walk the path or the journey that was supposed to be walked, or they didn't walk the path or the journey that's for them. And 9 times out of 10, the path and the journey is not no shit like this. If everything what I said resonate with you, then your higher self understands completely what I'm talking about. Your brain just right now has to unlock it and work with the higher self to understand it. And if you know what I'm talking about, or you can tie it to something in your life that could base it or resonate it to kind of make it make sense, then you got it. You got it. That's why I'm finna drop this air mixtape, man. And I know this video kind of long, but that's almost need something to match the energy it took for me to putting into it, because I put so much energy and so much air into this mixtape, and everybody need air to survive, and I put so much air in it, and I don't want to release it with none of that energy brought back. Like, you can put so much energy into something and then put it out, and then you don't even receive that same energy you put out back, and it makes you feel like you gave off too much, and then now you empty, and you have to go somewhere in nature and fill back up or something like that. But I'm not trying to do that, so I'm just trying to, as much as I gotta do, fulfills as much energy in it as I put into the mixtape itself, for I can see that same kind of result back. Like, the shit is just deeper than going and promote it and shit like that, because you can put in your hard time and not get the same thing out of it. But yeah, man, I'm gonna go ahead and shut this down. cut this video off and shit, but that's just giving people a little rundown of the messages what comes within air. And one else thing I want to say too about birds. Anything that can fly, anything that can fly can actually see air. We can't fly. We don't. Our eyes, the way the sunlight and reflects and bounces off things that hit our eyes is different for all species. And the way it bounces off a human eye, we're not capable of seeing the color or the information of air. We just our spirit just receives the information, but birds actually can see the vibrational images of air and give it color to everything like that. So if you could ever do anything like smoke a blunt, close your eyes, and talk to a bird or something like that, they'll tell you what color air is to the best way you can understand it. You know what I'm saying? But that's another video, man. Flightboss, bitch. You know what I'm saying? And be looking out for this air mixtape. And this and when you listen to this mixtape, watch this video again, and you will understand my whole mind concept, the true concept of air, and it'll open your mind to a whole new horizons of the perspective of the pilot man. You know what I'm saying? Flightboss.